He's the man who'll be calling the Sugar Bowl later on this month when Oklahoma takes on Auburn in that one. He is the great, legendary, if you will, Brent Musburger. How are you, Brent?
I am fine, Rich. How are you, lad? You're in Philadelphia. How's the weather?
Well, it's should I tell you what? Can I do it as you? Can I do that right now? Would you mind, Brent,
Absolutely.
if I did? Okay. I am looking live outside the window here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It looks like to be a nice, crisp afternoon here, and tonight temperatures should get down around the mid-30s when the Eagles and Giants kick off for Week 16. How'd I do? How'd I do on that?
You did great, Rich. Do you expect a high-scoring or a low-scoring game tonight?
Well, I think tonight, Brent. Hold on.
Low scoring.
Oh, no. Guys, stop. Guys. Well, Brent, I think tonight should be a night that you could go overboard in whatever style you care to watch this game. However you want to go at home.
Wait. I cannot wait, lad. Awesome.
How was that? Was that good? Was that good, Brent?
You did really good. You could have done Jimmy the Greek for me back in the day,
Well, man, so what just now that we are here in Philadelphia, I mean, what memories do you have of talking Eagles Giants football from back in the day, or Eagles Cowboys football from back in the day, Brent?
I have a great sideline memory. The Dick Vermeil Eagles were in the playoffs, and the Steelers and the Cowboys had been knocked out, and we had a snowstorm, and I had Terry Bradshaw on one side as a guest and Roger Staubach on the other side. So we're down right on the side, very vulnerable, and of course in Philadelphia, since they threw snowballs at Santa Claus, you knew we were going to catch them. So I always say to people, which one of my guests do you think was threatening to climb up into the stands and kick somebody's butt? And 90% say Bradshaw. I say, nope. We had the whole Roger Staubach back that day. We were fully back. It's Rich, Philadelphia is a very special sports city. Passion second to none. Obviously, you can put Boston in that same category with them, but I've had such great memories of being around Philadelphia. And, we've got Carson Wentz, the boy from Bismarck, North Dakota, quarterbacking for the Eagles. So we'll see. I saw Eli Manning during their bye week. He came to one of our games down in Oxford, Mississippi. He and Archie were both down there. And Eli said to me that people had not yet caught up to the fact that the Giants' defense was getting a little bit better. And, man, was he right on the mark about that. I mean, I didn't know that and watched the last couple of games. So great memories of Philadelphia. You should have a terrific night.
Yeah, and where everybody's making comparisons to this Giant team to the Giants teams that Eli quarterback to the Super Bowl because of a late December run and the defense making up for the lack of a running game. And tonight they go for an 11th win. And plus, this team, though, if you think about it, Brent, has what those other Giants teams did not have, and that's a playmaker like Odell Beckham Jr. Who would you say is the greatest playmaker you've laid eyes on on a football field, college or pro?
Well, interestingly enough, there's so many, and off the top of my head, I have to tell you, at Florida State, nobody was a better playmaker than Deion Sanders. Now, having said that, obviously he's a defensive player, but no one could roam that secondary, Rich, and make a pick or knock one down for Bobby Bowden like he did. When we get to the offensive side of the ball, when I was around the NFL, they were just sort of making the transition from being a running game to a passing game and changing all the rules and everything. And so back in the day when I first started, I always thought the running backs dominated. And of course, no one was any better than Jimmy Brown when I covered him as a newspaper reporter. His last championship game, he retired with the Cleveland Browns, and he punched out the Baltimore Colts that day. And then, of course, the great Walter Payton with the Chicago Bears was somebody who could make a lot of plays. But now it's a different era, and you put your finger on Beckham. He's fantastic. Sometimes I think he tries to go to the spectacular one-handed catch too much, but he's very good with that one hand, and he used to practice it down at LSU. And he stopped one with one hand close to the goal line for Eli last week, I know, and then pulled it into the body and scampered on into the end zone. The most disappointing playmaker the last couple of weeks for me was Des Bryant. When they lost to the Giants, when the Cowboys lost to the Giants in New York, I thought the biggest difference was the fact that Des Bryant didn't hold on to the football. And the one thing that you know, because you're around it every week, those big-time receivers, they must catch the football. That's their primary objective. Don't worry about yards after the catch. Catch the football, and we will go from there. And with the quarterbacks, you have such a small window in the NFL. My goodness, it is so different than what we have in college football. You just have to be an accurate thrower in the NFL to be successful. But the game has changed a lot, and the athletes overall are better today. And in every game, I was watching the NBA the other night. I love to watch the Golden State Warriors and what they've done. And my goodness, the athletic ability of those fellows is awesome to watch. So it's great being a fan. And now that I know that I'm going to, take a chance on a high-scoring game in Philadelphia tonight, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Brent Musburger joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, calling the Sugar Bowl on January 2nd between Oklahoma and Auburn. And you mentioned windows of opportunity, or windows in general. You've got Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey individually making their windows shorter by saying, I want to tap out. I don't want to play in my bowl game for fear of they're saying they're getting ready for the pros, preparing, but we all understand they don't want to get hurt like, say, Jalen Smith did last year. What do you think of these players exercising their option to do this, Brent?
Rich, I think it's an individual decision. I don't think it's going to set a trend. A lot of guys are going to decide to play, especially if you're in the Final Four. I can't imagine anybody backing away from winning a championship. And I think in both these cases, Leonard Fournette, I was around quite a bit this year, by the way, at LSU. And I sort of, and I don't mean this in a demeaning fashion, but I honestly thought he checked out a little bit early anyway. I thought he was worried a little bit about the draft and the NFL and his future. He had come out to warm up before the rescheduled Florida game, I remember, and it looked like he wasn't going to play at all. And then we had a little pre-game scuffle, and he got into it, exchanged words with one of the coaches of the Gators. And suddenly he came out of the tunnel in his uniform, and he did not play very well, I might add. So I really thought that he was already thinking about the NFL. And Christian McCaffrey's case, a year ago in the Rose Bowl game we covered, he was just spectacular. And I thought when I left, because his dad was such a good receiver and his mom had been a terrific soccer player, and his granddad was one of the fastest humans in the world when Syme was winning medals, and I think a silver medal over in Rome in the 100 meters. But at any rate, he's been hurt this year for Stanford, and so I can understand that. Listen, these guys, the one thing when you go to college, I remember I was asked once by a coach, he said, "Brent, why'd you go to college?" And, of course, I gave him the cliche. "To get an education," I said. He said, "No, you didn't." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You went to get a job." And I stopped, and I said, on second thought, you're right. And McCaffrey and Fournette, they're looking to get a job. That's their future, and if they think it's to their benefit, they've both proven a lot. In Fournette's case, I'm almost sure he's a first-rounder. McCaffrey probably down low in the first round. Such a great playmaker, and he's got really good speed, good hands. Could be a good slot man in the NFL. So I don't blame them. I think it's an individual decision, and I don't want to get up on my high horse. And if that's what they decide to do, that's fine. We'll break in young running backs at both Stanford and LSU and go from there.
Couple of more minutes with Brent Musburger here on the Rich Eisen Show. How is the Joe Mixon video playing into the run-up to this game between Auburn and Oklahoma? Is this something that Bob Stoops is going to have to maybe sit Mixon down even for this game, even though he already sat him for a year? Brent?
That's such a good question. And, in fact, I have an ongoing debate with one of my sons and who thinks that he should be sat down for the game and was abhorred by he was really affected when he saw it. And I, of course, I guess being a little bit older and respectful of Stoops, thought that, well, he was suspended for a year, and Bob had to have seen that video, even though it wasn't, turned loose to the public. It wasn't released to the public by the law enforcement authorities. There's no question it's troubling video. There's also no question that the woman in this case was the initial aggressor. Now, don't anybody misunderstand that. That should not allow, especially a world-class athlete, to throw a haymaker like he did. And the youngsters, I think, have to be taught that in cases like that, just kind of stick your hands out and hold the aggressor away, and then turn and quickly walk away. But easier said than done. Mixon told the officers at the time that he thought he'd been hit by a dude. Whether or not her slap really was that effective, I have no way of knowing. In the case of Mike Krzyzewski with his suspension of Grayson the Tripper, and now Stoops having to deal with this with Mixon, I have such respect for these two people that I tend to fall back on whatever decision they have to make. Now, having said that, we will deal with the story one way or the other. At the game, he's a talent, and whether this affects his draft status, I would imagine that it does, because there has become such an issue about violence toward women in the National Football League since the Ray Rice video became a public record, and we haven't seen him show up in any other team. Rich, I guess I just say, it's going to be up to Coach Stoops. It sounded like yesterday when his words indicated to me that he's going to play him at the Sugar Bowl. But, stay tuned. You don't know what the alumni will come up with at Oklahoma. You don't know what the Board of Regents down there. So we'll just have to wait and see what the next week brings us.
Brent, I really appreciate you calling in. I look forward to your call of that, and have a happy holiday and Merry Christmas between now and then.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and the family, Rich. Have a great time. Look forward to seeing you guys. You guys do a great job. Always watch you before and after the Thursday night games, lad. Okay.
I appreciate that, Brent. Thanks very much. That's Brent Musburger.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.